work and you're contemplating these concepts, you begin to talk to your friends about what you learn, and you're beginning to develop long-term relationships in those neurons. And all of a sudden, you're moving around your office and you're saying, you know, you need to be more compassionate, you know? And someone else will say, you need to forgive. Everybody is impressed with your knowledge. They're knocking on your office door, they're asking you to administer to them, and you're resolving everybody's problems. Things are going really well. All of a sudden, you're driving home from work, and you get a call on your cell phone, and it's your spouse. And your spouse tells you that they forgot to mention in the morning that it's your mother-in-law's birthday. And you pull over on the side of the road and you think, I hate my mother-in-law. She hurt my feelings 10 years ago. She tells the same stories over and over again. And you begin to remember that you had some pretty stressful moments that branded you emotionally from your past with your mother-in-law. Now, stress is when your body's knocked out of homeostasis. Stress is when your body's knocked out of balance. Now, when you see a lion, you begin to turn on a primitive nervous system. But it doesn't even have to be a lion. You could see your mother-in-law, and it produces the same exact effect. Now, let's go one step further. It doesn't even have to be the physical appearance of your mother-in-law. You can begin to think about certain things and auto-suggest, and you can turn on the stress response just by thought alone. Now, your body is your unconscious mind. It does not know the difference between the actual experience in reality that produces the emotion and the emotion that you fabricate by thought alone. To the body, it believes it's in that experience. So the moment the limbic brain begins to make a blend of neuropeptides, it begins to signal the hormonal centers, and you get a rush of energy to prepare you for this event, real or imagined. Now, the moment that happens, you become altered in some way. The fight or flight nervous system causes your pupils to dilate, your mouth gets a little dry, all of a sudden your heart rate begins to change, your respiratory rate changes, and blood is being sent to your extremities, and now you're prepared to either do battle with your mother-in-law or never go to the dinner, to stay and run, stay and fight, or to run. Now, what was once highly adaptive, all of a sudden is now maladaptive. Because when we turn on the stress response and we can't turn it off, now we're headed for disease. So then you're sitting on the side of the road, and then you think, oh, I read the book on compassion. Damn. And the moment you begin to think about what you have to do, something very natural happens. You begin to think about what you were thinking about. You begin to pay attention to how you're reacting. You begin to notice how you're feeling. And that concept in neuroscience is called metacognition. We can observe who we're being. And because we can observe who we're being, it means we could modify our behaviors to do a better job in life. So now the frontal lobe is the seat of your awareness. It's the home of the you and the me. And as you begin to think about who you no longer want to be, the frontal lobe acts like a volume control. And it begins to lower the volume in the circuits in your brain that are connected to the old self. And as it begins to silence those circuits that are connected to the old level of mind, that level of mind no longer fires, and you're observing it instead of participating in it. And as you begin to silence those circuits, nerve cells that no longer fire together no longer wire together. And you begin to biologically break down the circuits in your brain that are connected to the old self and to the old mind. Now, as you're sitting on the side of the road, you think, what piece of knowledge could I apply in this situation from what I learned in the book? And as you begin to plan your actions, and you begin to think about a new way of being, and you begin to put yourself into the equation, your brain naturally begins to fire in new sequences and new patterns and new combinations. And whenever you make your brain work differently, you're changing your mind, because mind is the brain in action. And as the brain begins to fire in new ways and you produce a new level of mind, nerve cells that fire together wire together, and you begin to install the neurological hardware ahead of the actual experience. And now you have circuits in place to use when you get into that dinner. So now, as you ask yourself, what is compassion, and you begin to remember all these different things that you learned in the book, the frontal lobe, like a great symphony leader, begins to synchronize these circuits. And when it begins to produce a certain level of coherence, a certain level of mind, your brain naturally creates a hologram or an image. And that image then becomes the internal representation of what you are going to use when you walk into that dinner. We would call that intention. Now there's a very, very unique shuffle that kind of goes on microscopically between different circuits in your brain. You're trying to fire this new thought called compassion. But remember, you've...
The characters. Imitating their ways. Somewhere in America, Los Angeles, 11:26 p.m. In a dark red room, the colour of the walls is close to that of raw liver, is a tall woman dressed cartoonishly in too tight silk shorts, her breasts pulled up and pushed forward by the yellow blouse tied beneath them. Her black hair is piled high and knotted on top of her head. Standing beside her is a short man wearing an olive t-shirt and expensive blue jeans. He is holding, in his right hand, a wallet and a Nokia mobile phone with a red, white and blue faceplate. The red room contains a bed upon which are white satin-style sheets and an oxblood bedspread. At the foot of the bed is a small wooden table upon which is a small stone statue of a woman with enormous hips and a candle holder. The woman hands the man a small red candle.
Here,
she says.
Light it.
Me?
Yes.
She says.
If you want to have me.
I should have just got you to suck me off in the car.
Perhaps.
She says.
Don't you want me?
Her hand runs up her body from thigh to breast, a gesture of presentation as if she were demonstrating a new product. Red silk scarves over the lamp in the corner of the room make the light red. The man looks at her hungrily. Then he takes the candle from her and pushes it into the candle holder.
You got a light?
She passes him a book of matches. He tears off the match, lights the wick. It flickers and then burns with a steady flame, which gives the illusion of motion to the faceless statue beside it, all hips and breasts.
Put the money beneath the statue.
$50.
Yes.
Yeah. When I saw you first on Sunset, I almost thought you were a man.
But I have these.
She says, unknotting the yellow blouse, freeing her breasts.
Hey, so do a lot of guys these days.
She stretches and smiles.
Yes.
She says.
Now come love me.
He unbuttons his blue jeans and removes his olive t-shirt. She massages. It's a reading pattern. He's
But if you persist with a certain amount of amplitude, and you
This is Walter Matthau's space.
sooner or later, that thought will be restricted.
She massages his white shoulders with her brown fingers, then she turns him over and begins to make love to him.
The brain has
with her
to
hands
feel that
and
circuit
her
more
fingers.
permanently.
Across the great ocean.
So when the action
It
potential
seems to
is
him that the
firing
lights in
down
the red
the
room
nerve
have been dimmed,
from the
and
presynaptic
sole
back
illumination
to the
comes from the candle.
there's a glue that
Burns
seals
with
the
the right
circuit
flame.
called neural growth factor, and it travels in the opposite direction. But there's only a certain amount of that neural
She
growth
tells
factor
him,
developed. So it's rushed to steal the glue from the neighboring circus. And when that happens,
He's
there
gasping
goes
now.
your memory of your mother-in-law hurting your feelings.
He says,
I have to fuck you.
Tolerance, the only
Okay,
signal
honey.
of traveling to that neuron.
We'll do it, but will you do something for me while you're
Now,
doing it?
every place where one
Hey,
neuron
he
connects
says,
with
suddenly
another neuron
touchy.
is a memory.
I'm paying
When this
you,
happens,
you know.
you begin
She
to
straddles him in one smooth movement,
neurologically
whispering,
tune away the
I know,
old
honey,
memory
I know.
of the
You're
old
paying
self.
me.
And this
And then I
is
look at
the
you, I should be
science of
paying
changing
you. I'm
your
so
mind.
lucky.
If you want to see what it looks like in real time, try that again.
he purses
If you want to see what it looks like in
his
real
lips,
time,
trying to show
unhooking
that her
from the
hookup
old
talk is
self,
having no
reconnecting
effect on
to
him.
the
He
new
can't
self.
be taken, that she's a street whore, for Christ's sakes. Well, he's practically a producer, and he knows all about and he knows all about last-minute rip-offs. But she doesn't ask for money. Instead, she says,
Honey, while you're giving it to me, while you're pushing that big hard thing inside of me, will you worship me?
You walk into the
Will
dinner,
I
you get your
what?
behaviors to match your intentions.
she's rocking back and
Get your
forth on
actions
him.
equal to your
The
thoughts.
engorged head of his penis is being rubbed against the wet lips of her vulva.
Will you call me goddess? Will you pray to me? Will you worship me with your body?
He smiles. Is that what she wants?
Sure.
He says, we've all got our kinks at the end of the day. She reaches her hand between her legs and slips him inside her.
Is that good? Is it, goddess?
He asks, gasping.
Worship me, honey.
Says Goldfist the hooker.
Yes.
He says,
I worship your breasts and your eyes and your... I worship your thighs and your eyes and your cherry red lips.
Yes.
she croons, riding him like a storm-tossed boat rides the waves.
I worship your nipples from which the milk of life flows. Your kiss is honey and your touch scorches like fire and I worship it.
His words are becoming more rhythmic now, keeping pace with the thrust and roll of their bodies.
Bring me your lust in the morning and bring me relief and your blessing in the evening. Let me walk in the dark places unharmed and let me come to you once more and sleep beside you and make love with you. And I worship you with everything that is within me and everything inside my mind. With everywhere I go and my things and my...
He breaks off, panting for breath.
What are you doing? That feels amazing, so amazing!
And he looks down at his hips, at the place where the two of them can join. But her forefinger touches his chin and pushes his head back, so he's looking only at her face and at the ceiling once again.
Keep talking, honey.
She says,
Don't stop. Doesn't it feel good?
It feels better than anything has ever felt.
he tells her, meaning it as he says it.
Your eyes are stars burning in the firmament, and your hips are gentle with that lift the sand that I worship them.
And now he's thrusting deeper and deeper inside her. It feels electric, as if his whole body has become sexually charged, myopic, engorged, blissful.
Bring me your gift.
He mutters, no longer knowing what he's saying.
Your one true gift, and make me always so I pray.
And then the pleasure crests into orgasm, blasting his mind into void. His head and self, an entire beingness, a perfect blank, as he thrusts deeper into her and deeper still. Eyes closing, spasming, he luxuriates in the moment, and then he feels a lurch. And it seems to him that he's hanging, head down, although the pleasure continues. He opens his eyes. He thinks, grasping for thought and reason again of birth, and wonders without fear, in a moment of perfect postcoital clarity, whether what he sees is some kind of illusion. This is what he sees. He is inside her to the chest. And as he stares at this, in disbelief and wonder, She rests both hands upon his shoulders and puts gentle pressure on his body. He slides further inside her.
How are you doing this to me?
He asks, or he thinks he asks, but perhaps it's only in his head.
You're doing it, honey.
She whispers. He feels the lips of her vulva tight around his upper chest and back, constricting and enveloping him. He wonders what this would look like to somebody watching them. He wonders why he's not scared. And then he knows.
I worship you with my body.
He whispers, as she pushes him inside her. Her labia pull slickly across his face, and his eyes slip into darkness. She stretches on the bed like a huge cat, and then she yawns.
Yes,
She says.
you do.
The Nokia phone plays a high electrical transposition of the Ode to Joy. She picks it up and thumbs a key and puts the telephone to her ear. Her belly is flat, her labia small and closed. A sheen of sweat glistens on her forehead and on her upper lip.
Yeah.
She says, and then she says,
No, honey, he's not here. He's gone away.
she turns the telephone off before she flops out on the bed in the dark red room. And she stretches once more, and she closes her eyes, and she sleeps.